Hi, I'm Bay Forrest with Focus Ministries, and today I want to start a new devotional series on one of my favorite passages from the Bible. It's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. And Paul in Ephesians chapter 5 starts right out in verse 1 and he says, "Be imitators." Now, what does that mean to be an imitator? It comes from the Greek word mimete, where we get our word for a mime, somebody who acts something out. They act like they're climbing a ladder, there's no ladder there. They act like they're opening a door, there's no cabinet door. It literally means to watch somebody else do something and then to do the same thing. Probably the best illustration or example I ever saw of that was when we were in Kenya, East Africa, working as missionaries at Rift Valley Academy, a missionary kids boarding school. We had 30 11th and 12th grade boys in our dorm. They were mostly missionary kids, and we would have them for 3 months of school, and then by the end of that 3 months, we were pretty worn out and ready for a break. So were they. They were excited to go home on vacation. But when they finished their month of vacation, we couldn't wait for them to come back, and we got to hear all their stories about what happened all over the East African area. One of our boys was from Kenya, and Brad came home from his vacation time, and he said, "Mr. Forrest, you are not going to believe what happened on this vacation." And I said, "All right, let me hear it." And he said, "Well, you know those stupid baboons?" And I said, "Oh man, do I know, because I'm an outdoorsman and a hunter, and so I was excited about all the wildlife in Kenya, but the one animal that nobody liked was baboons. Baboons are a dirty, obnoxious, thieving animal that are dangerous. If they get in a fight with your dog, they can kill your dog, and so nobody liked baboons. They were considered a nuisance, they were considered a varmint, but we didn't have guns in Kenya, so there was no way to deal with them. In fact, our daughter Mandy one time was out eating a sandwich when we were camping. She was sitting on a camp stool eating that sandwich. All of a sudden, this brown blur came whipping through the camp, snatched the sandwich right out of her hand, sat down at the side, and said, they're like, "What you going to do about it?" Because we couldn't shoot them with guns. So we all carried with us wrist rockets. You would put it around your wrist like that, and we'd carry these to be able to keep the varmints away like the baboons. We'd use rocks or ball bearings or marbles, whatever you could use that would keep them away. Well, Brad said, "Yeah, I was on this vacation time and we were out camping, and this big male baboon was right out at the edge of camp, and I forgot my wrist rocket. I didn't have any way of keeping the animals away like that." And he said, this male baboon kept trying to sneak into camp and steal things from us. He said, finally, "I got so tired, I reached down and I picked up a big old rock," and he said, "I hucked it at him as hard as I could. But he said, I threw it short and it landed in front of the baboon and it went dink, 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 dink." And he said, that baboon, he looked at that rock and then he looked at me and then he looked back at the rock and he said, "Mr. Forrest, he picked that rock up and he threw it at me and he hit me with it right in the chest." I said, "He didn't hit you with a rock in the chest. He lifted up his shirt and he had a big old bruise right here in the middle of his chest where that baboon had hit him with a rock." Now, what happened there? That monkey didn't go around normally throwing rocks, but we've heard it before, monkey see, monkey do. That baboon watched what that young man did and he said, "Oh, that's what you do with a rock." He picked the rock up, just happened to be a better aim than what the kid was, and he hit him with the rock. That is exactly what Paul is talking to us about in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1, where he says, "Be imitators." But then he goes on and he says something pretty amazing. He says, "Be imitators of God." Now, how are we supposed to do that? If you've done much of a study of the attributes of God, you know he is omnipotent. Well, I'm not going to be able to say, "I'm going to be like God. I shall pick this building up." I can't do that. How about omniscient? I know what everybody's thinking. No, I don't. How about omnipresent? All places at the same time. We can't do that. God can do all of those. So how are we to be imitators of God? Well, it would be impossible if it wasn't for one great role model. And his name is Jesus. Because Jesus came down, lived a perfect life, and said, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. The Father and I were one." And he was our example of how we should live our life. And we are told to be imitators of God. And you know, even that would be difficult if we got up in the morning and said, "I'm going to be like Jesus this morning." Well, that's going to be really difficult to do if it wasn't for the fact that Jesus made a promise to us. When he left, he said, "Hey, when I leave, I'm going to send the Holy Spirit, and he's a part of me as well, and so I'll allow him to be in you, and then you will be able to use that strength and source in your life." So every morning, the best thing we can possibly do is get up in the morning and say, "God, I couldn't live for you today if I had to. There's not a chance in the world that I could live for you today on my own. So God, since I can't do it myself, Would you fill me up today with your power and your strength? I just want to be Jesus with skin on. I'm going to let you come and live in me. I'll be the skin. You come, fill me up, and I'll try to live the life that you want me to do with your strength and with your power. That is being an imitator of God. There's such an opportunity today for us to do that. If you're around people in your home, wherever right now, that you can be that kind of an imitator, then we can love on them and let them see Jesus. And maybe it's through texting, maybe it's through internet, whatever way it would be, we need to show others what it is to be like Jesus and to love on them, be imitators of God, therefore as dearly loved children.